Hello and welcome to another edition of Preps Podcast. This is Kyle Neddenriep from the IndyStar, and we're going to be talking some basketball today, and we're going to break it up into three different segments. And first off, we'll be talking with Sincere McMahon of Crispus Attucks. Sincere led Attucks to their first city championship since 1962, made the Indian All-Star team. We're going to talk to him about his recruiting process. He was kind of throwing a curveball late in the game as he was committed to Western Illinois, then reopened his process after a coaching change there and committed to Western Carolina. So we'll go through that with him, as well as his senior year he had, the sectional at Lawrence Central, and the Attucks season in general. Then we'll be talking with Connor Hickman, a junior all-star from Bloomington South. He had a really remarkable junior year, helped Bloomington South to a 26-0 record, and his role on that team, also his recruiting process, and kind of how things have changed now with AAU kind of under wraps until at least July, if not totally this summer, and how that's changed things for him as he goes through that process. Then in the third segment, we'll be talking with Jeremy Rauch from Fort Wayne Snider, the basketball coach there. He is, with the help of other coaches, put together a website called feelforthegame.com, and it's kind of a way for coaches to connect from around the state, different articles and things put on that website that can be helpful for coaches and fans in general, I think, might find it interesting. So we talked to Jeremy in the third segment about what he's doing there. So stay tuned. Our first segment, of course, with Sincere McMahon, and then we will talk to Connor Hickman and Jeremy Rauch. So enjoy the show for today, and thanks a lot for being with us. Well, here with our first segment on Preps Podcast for this week, and we're talking with Sincere McMahon, the Crispus Attucks senior who committed to Western Carolina here recently, and coming off a really strong senior season. Sincere averaged 26 points a game, 4.8 assists. Attucks was 19-6 this year, and won city for the first time since 1962, which quite an accomplishment. And Sincere, I know it's been it's been a couple months now since we've seen you, like anybody, right, as we go through this pandemic situation. But when you look back at this senior year, what do you think you'll remember the most about playing for Attucks and kind of leading this team where it ended up going this year?
I would really say probably just one single thing I'll probably say I remember the most is just winning city. Like, that was probably one of the craziest things, or even maybe going to semi-state with Attucks, just everything with the school. Like, they just full out support you no matter if you're losing by 50 or winning by 50. The school just supports you so much. So I just love that about them.
You guys had a chance in the sectional, was a remarkable sectional tournament at Lawrence Central, the sectional 10. We knew it would be, and it lived up to the billing. Such a great week of basketball, and I know kind of bittersweet for you. You get that first win against Cathedral, the second time you beat them this year, including the sectional, or including the city, and then you go on and nearly take down Lawrence North in that game. How often have you kind of replayed that game in your mind? You guys had the lead late in that game and had Lawrence North on the ropes, and they ended up pulling it out. Lawrence North, a great team in their own right, but was that a tough one to get over for you?
I still watch that game to this day. I actually watched it yesterday. Like, I watched the whole thing from start to finish. It's just tough. Like, it's just little mental lapses that we had as a team and stuff. We were a little bit mentally stronger and, probably more prepared for the moment or for the situation. We would have pulled it out, hopefully, but it just stings really bad because I know we could have won.
Yeah, it was a great game, just as many of those games were. In the following night with Warren Central and Lawrence North was also another great game. How much fun was that just to play in that, and we can talk about as things went on a little bit later, but just to play that week in that sectional, Tony Perkins and Malik Stanley, and you can go up and down each team's roster with all the great players, DeAndre Davis and Nigel Pack, obviously. How much fun was it just to be in that environment that week at Lawrence Central?
It was so much fun, just every game packed, and I even though it was bittersweet, I even went to the Warren and Lynn game the next night. And it's just like, even playing in it, like, it's different from playing in it, but even in a crowd, you feel like the intensity in the game. So it's just crazy. Like, you don't really get to play in many of those types of games like that, maybe in college, but those high school games where it's packed, gym packed, everybody sitting around the floor, you don't really get that back.
What's that like? I mean, I've covered a lot of these games, but I'm on the sideline. I'm not, I'm nervous in my own right for you guys. But what's it like being on the floor in those type of games? Are you nervous, or what's the feeling like for you?
I would say for me, like, to start the game, I'm always a little like nervous, like got a little butterflies. But then once like the game get about probably halfway through the first quarter, I really just zone out and I just really forget about everything and everybody that's there.
Do you kind of feed off the crowd?
Yeah, definitely a little bit.
I know a lot of people may not even remember this, but Sincere was part of the Tinley team as a freshman with Eric Hunter and that group. How much did you learn from playing with Eric, and how much did that maybe carry over to what you ended up doing at Attucks?
I still talk to Eric every day. I've learned he done taught me everything from school to work ethic, from everything, how I carry myself up the court. Like, I took so much from him from freshman my sophomore years. I could thank him for so much right now. And he was just a great role model to have. And playing for Purdue right now, he's still playing, still putting up good numbers. So he just was a good person to watch for 2 years.
Right, of course, Eric Hunter now playing at Purdue and has really improved a lot even in his time there. But Sincere, wanted to ask you too about in the aftermath. You guys were out of the tournament after the sectional, but I ended up writing a story about sectional 10 and all the unfortunate people who tested positive and
yeah, that was crazy.
I know 6 people who've died who were there. Did you experience any ill effects after the sectional, or know people who did?
Actually, I think I caught like a little flu, maybe a cold flu. Like, I think maybe a couple of days after, like during that week, I missed like 2 days of school. I was sick. So I don't know. You never know what it could have been.
Pretty scary time. I know the LN team, actually, they went through it a little bit too the following week. And
yeah, Shamar.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
Fortunately was, for guys your age, it seemed to be less life-threatening than people who were older. But, Sincere, you also had a situation where Coach Billy Wright is out at Western Illinois. That was the school you were committed to. So you had to kind of restart the process, ended up committing to Western Carolina. Kind of take us through what went on behind the scenes with you as far as that goes. What was your recruitment like, having to go through it again at that late stage?
It was really that happened right before the week of sectionals, so it's kind of it was a lot going on at that time. I got a week of sectionals, then I'm still thinking about what's going to be my next move or whatever. But then that week I just kind of focused on just getting my team through sectionals and stuff, and I was trying to focus on after. But after, I guess, Western Carolina, they were already in my recruiting. So after that, after they heard I was released, or I got released, they were on me quickly. Me and Coach Rack and Coach Prosser, they talked to me every day. I can't remember a day they didn't reach out to me and make sure I was feeling good, telling me about their team, their campus, and making sure I felt wanted. So just building a relationship with those coaches, that played probably the biggest part of my decision.
What do you know about Western Carolina? What kind of program is it? I'm guessing you had a pretty good relationship with the coaches already, because they had recruited you. But were they, what do you know about them, and how do they see you fitting into what they do down there?
They're in a tough conference in the Southern Conference, one of the top 13 conferences in the country. And they were, I think, 19 and 12 last year. They had one of the biggest jumps from new coaches. Coach Prosser, he's really a winning coach. Everywhere he's been doing nothing but winning games. So just playing that, and then his father is Skip Prosser. He used to coach at Wake Forest with Chris Paul. And so basically, me and Coach Prosser talked a lot about how he took a lot of his father's philosophies and just knowing how to coach a point guard, and that he sees so much potential in me just past my shooting and my dribbling. He knows I can play off the ball, and they watched me in AAU before I even felt like my game was all the way developed, and they even showed that that they believed in me then. And then once the senior year came along and I was already even committed to Western Illinois, I just felt myself getting better and better, and they even said themselves they was watching me all season. So they seen that jump, and I know that they can, take me to the next level.
Did you have much idea, Sincere, that Western Illinois' coaching situation was in flux at all, or did that come as a complete surprise to you?
Surprise! Like I was in practice, and I was thinking I was in trouble. My coach, Coach Hawkins, comes to me and was like, "Come see me in my office." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And then I just go to my office, and he tells me that. I'm like, "Wow!" But then he tells me, he's like, "You had a great season this year," so he was telling me I just really wasn't worried a lot about it, and schools are gonna come talk to me, and just try to go through the process. But the process was a lot different this time than it was before I had committed earlier in my decision.
Was it pretty easy for you? I mean, knowing a lot about Western Carolina, or were you kind of starting from a ground zero perspective again?
I would say a ground zero, because I really wasn't trying to rush a decision too fast. I was trying to listen to every school that gave their pitch to me or whatever. But I just you want to go where you feel most wanted, where you can make an impact.
Well, and I thought, Sincere, you made the Indiana All-Star team this year, and we're talking to Sincere McMahon, Crispus Attucks senior guard, and ended up making the Indiana All-Star team. Was that a big goal for you going into this year? And at what point did you feel pretty good about maybe having a shot at that opportunity?
It was definitely a goal of mine. Last year I made the junior All-Star team, but it's for a team, so I kind of feel like I had a good junior season, but I definitely had to crank it up a couple notches for me to be an Indiana All-Star. So it was definitely a goal of mine, and I wasn't surprised when I made it, but it's just kind of shocking. I watched so many great players from Indiana just grow up and become Indiana All-Stars and do so much even after high school. It's just an honor.
And do it at a place like Attucks too, where that basketball tradition is second to none. Has to be pretty fulfilling for you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What now for you? I mean, are you doing stuff on your own as far as workouts go, or what's kind of your day-to-day routine right now?
Right now, day-to-day, I usually probably wake up about 9, 10, and I run about a mile and a half, and then I've been getting in the gym when I can sometimes, and I got an outside court that I've been going to every day. But then I got an open gym I go to Tuesdays and Fridays and Mondays, I think. We didn't have it today, though.
Do you know what if things get back to normal, what's kind of when will you be off to school then?
Well, it's not looking like we're going to go back in June or July. So I'm probably thinking maybe August, hopefully. We just had a team meeting the other day, and our coach, he's trying to see how things are playing out now, but he said he wouldn't really hope for July, but he'll probably say August.
What's your opportunity there at Western Carolina? What's the returning players look like? Will you have a chance to play right away?
Yes, for sure. They have a senior point guard coming back, Mason. But me and Coach Prosser and Coach Rack, we all had long talks about that. He's actually going through the draft process right now. And so I was just asking them questions about it and stuff. They were just talking about they know I can play really good off the ball and on the ball. So with me and him, playing off of each other a little bit, and they don't really have, other than him, there is really no point guards that they have. They're just lacking that position. So they told me I definitely got a chance to come in, and it's 20 to 25 minutes there for me to play.
And you said you're doing, you basically have Zoom meetings with the staff then?
Yep, and the team.
How many recruits do they have coming in?
Right now, it was me, a guard from Texas, and then 2 wings, 2 big men, so 4.
Okay. And then looking at next year, I mean, how do you feel like Attucks is going to have a pretty good team again next year, do you think? That some pretty good talent in place still coming back?
Yeah, most definitely. Jalen, he got so much potential. I just see it in him every day. He work hard. He doesn't complain too much, and his size is going to tell the difference between it all. And he got post moves. He got a lot of potential. And Don Barnett, he's long. He does all the little things that you need on the court. They should be fine next year, definitely.
Yeah, Jalen Carson, I think he had 26 in the city championship game and really made a difference. Of course, you fouled out late in that game, and I thought, gosh, it might be curtains at that point, and you had a lot of guys step up and lead you guys that game.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, Sincere, best of luck to you, and really appreciate you doing this and coming on.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
We'll be right back with our next segment with Bloomington South junior guard Connor Hickman. All right, back here with another segment on our Preps podcast, and glad to be joined by Connor Hickman, junior guard from Bloomington South. And Connor, this has been a kind of a weird time for everybody, but especially the 2021 guys who were supposed to be getting ready for senior year AAU travel ball, and instead you're quarantined basically at home trying to do whatever you can to get ready. What's what's kind of your day-to-day now, Connor? What do you have going on as far as, just kind of doing stuff on your own?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's definitely just, it's just slow. It's hard. I mean, usually I try to get, some type of basketball workout in, once or twice per day, and some kind of like, workout, lifting wise, wake up, eat, go to the elementary school near my house and shoot, since, most of the parks have been closed down, trying to put in that social distancing. And then, I have limited weights at home, so I have to do a lot of body weight stuff, and mostly just trying to stay busy and stay active so I don't, fall behind.
Good chance to work on your push-ups, right?
Yeah.
Well, this has been, to kind of backtrack a little bit, Connor was part of a Bloomington South team that was 26-0 as we headed into the regional round, and of course we didn't get to the regional round, and nobody got a chance to go any further than that. What was your, kind of the looking back 2 months ago now? It's hard to believe it's been that long ago now, but looking back to that point, Connor, how disappointed were you guys? Not to have that opportunity. You had a lot of seniors, including Mr. Basketball, Anthony Leal, part of that group. But how disappointing was that not to get a chance to move forward and see what would have happened the rest of that season?
I mean, it was pretty devastating for us. 26-0, tied for the most wins in school history with no losses. Coming off a sectional win. I mean, we were getting ready to go down to practice at Seymour for regionals, and we're all warming up for practice at South before we get to the bus, and then we're all warming up. We know that it's been debated and like news is coming out, but we hadn't heard anything, so we were all feeling pretty good about our chances to be able to play. And then just he told us to go sit down and gave us the news, and everyone just kind of sat there. I mean, no one knew what to do. I mean, no one's experienced something like that. So, I mean, it was pretty hard for all of us, especially the seniors, because I was their last year. I mean, just pretty much for everybody, just because we knew how good we were and how good of a chance we had to win state. I mean, we're all really close friends, so it was really hard.
Well, and I think everybody was kind of looking forward to the potential of a Bloomington South Lawrence North game, in the regional, and how much fun that would have been, and what a great it would have been. Sort of reminiscent of the Warren Central New Albany atmosphere, I think, and that sort of thing. And now I know we were a couple games away from that happening, but was it hard not to think about maybe what that would have been like in that that showdown game?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, I'm sure you saw the Lawrence North, Lawrence Central game, and that was only a sectional. I mean, it was crazy, and just to think that most likely would have been state, and we probably would have filled up Bankers Life, huge crowd. I mean, just a great game with a lot of D1 talent, and then Mr. Basketball candidates. It's just hard not to think about how great an experience that would have been.
Well, Connor, I know you're coming off a strong junior year, and I always look forward to the chance to see how the junior class kind of plays in the spring in AAU and in the summer, and what names kind of emerge, and how guys' games have progressed. And of course, looking forward to this class is really, really strong throughout the state, and a lot of great players. What were your plans going to be in the spring, and what are you kind of hearing now? Do you think there still will will be a chance to play some travel ball?
I mean, I was going to play with Indiana Elite this summer with, Trey Kaufman and Logan Duncombe, those guys, and I was really looking forward to that. I was going to, play this spring, summer, and then evaluate my options. I thought this would have been a really big spring/summer session for me. I could have gotten my name out there, but it didn't happen. So, I mean, I hope there's a chance. I mean, didn't they already cancel basketball in June, pretty much?
Yeah, June through June 30th. So the high school, the Charlie Hughes and things like that are more than likely not going to happen. We're still waiting to hear on the potential of July, and I know from talking to some coaches and some people, maybe there's a chance to play some in July, even if it's with the high school teams. So, I'm sure you guys are hoping for that.
Yeah, I hope they open it up. Maybe they could do late July and a little bit of August. I mean, I'm sure nobody would really have a problem with that. I mean, I'm sure just all kids in the 2021 class just want a chance to play.
Absolutely,
kind of the last chance for a lot of kids to get exposure and get their name out there.
Well, speaking of that recruiting aspect, Connor, I know you have a few offers already on the table. Division I offers. I think it was Toledo offered last week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What other offers do you have out there? And as we sit here on in early May, where do you feel like you're at in the recruiting process as far as how far along you are?
I have offers from Elon, Furman, Bradley, Evansville, and then Toledo, which I got last week. I'm just kind of I'm kind of in the middle. I mean, those are all great schools. I still feel like I really haven't gone through the recruiting process fully, like most other kids have. I'm just kind of waiting. I just really don't know what that happens. I really want to be able to, get to play again and see what happens. But I mean, right now I'm just gonna, keep working out and keep seeing what comes along, and if I'm ready to make my decision, I will. Just in a state of unsureness right now.
Well, yeah. How many of those schools that have offered, have you been able to visit those schools yet?
I've been able to visit all of them, all the schools I have offered except for Toledo, because I just got that last week and we can't really go take a visit right now.
Sure.
But I've been to all of those schools. I mean, they're all really nice schools and with great programs. I was able to see all of them.
Do you feel like there's maybe more, offers coming? Are there other schools that are talking to you that haven't offered yet?
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of coaches. A lot of them are recruiting me pretty hard. Good schools like Dayton and Wofford. There's a couple other I can't think of off the top of my head, but I've got some Ivy League schools looking at me. It's just I'm just waiting.
Absolutely.
I'm just not sure right now.
I
do have options, and
What's important to you, Connor? As you always kind of curious what the top priorities are when guys go through this process. What's kind of most important to you? What are you looking for in a program in a school?
I'm definitely looking at the players who are going to be there when I'm there. Seeing what kind of guys I would be around if they got the same mindset as me, and then the coaching staff, of course. If it's a great coaching staff, a great group of guys, and then of course the school with good academics.
Does it matter to you how far away from home you're playing in college?
No, not really.
Do you talk much? Do you talk much with Anthony Leal and Johnny Jager and guys like that who have been through this process already?
Mm-hmm. I talk to Anthony a lot about it. He gives some pretty good insight about just don't rush to make your decision. When that school comes along who's been talking to you and it feels right, go with it. Don't wait, but also you can't rush it at the same time.
And as you kind of narrow this down, Connor, what's is there a timeline you kind of want to have something done by? Is it try to get something done before your senior year?
I definitely want to have my decision, where I'm going to play, set in place before the senior season starts. That way I can just focus on playing with my friends and my teammates, just focusing on winning instead of having to worry about where my future is going to be.
As you kind of go through this unknown time we're all in right now, I mean, is it hard to stay motivated when you're just kind of working by yourself, or are you kind of do you enjoy doing that anyway?
I really enjoy it. I have a kid who goes to North, Nick Kleiber. I've been pretty much doing everything with him, and we've just been pushing each other. Asking each other if we want to go do this and this. We've been keeping each other motivated, and it's just, somebody's always working, so you always got to be working too.
Absolutely. What's it like playing for J.R. Holmes there at Bloomington South?
It's definitely a great experience, I might say. I mean, just somebody who knows so much about the game of basketball and cares about every player that goes through his system. It's definitely a lot of learning. I mean, someone who has over 800 plus wins and over 50 years of coaching. I mean, it's definitely somebody you can learn from. I mean, one thing I've definitely learned is watching other people and maybe experience this a little bit is just you don't talk back either. So I mean, that's a pretty good lesson to learn. So what he says goes, and it's definitely a good experience.
Yeah, I'd say 800 plus wins in 50 years probably carries a lot of weight, huh?
Yeah, I think he might know what he's talking about.
Absolutely. Well, Connor, thanks so much for coming on and talking, and best of luck to you as you move forward in this process.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me.
You bet. And stay tuned for our third and final segment. We'll be talking with Fort Wayne Snider boys basketball coach Jeremy Rauch with their Feel for the Game website that Roush and several other high school coaches from around the state have put together. Well, back with another segment here on our Preps podcast, and glad to be joined by Jeremy Rauch, the coach, boys basketball coach at Fort Wayne Snider. And Jeremy, you guys got something cool going on. I've had a chance to look around at the website, feelforthegame.com, and a lot of different coaches, articles about different aspects of either X's and O's of the game, or building chemistry, all kinds of different things on the website. Kind of just, if you would, just tell us a little bit about what this website is and kind of how you guys got started and who's all involved with it.
Absolutely. You kind of just hit the nail on the head about what it is that we offer. And I think just as a whole, the idea is for basketball players, there's a technical side to it and then a tactical side. And the technical is like the basics and the fundamentals. And then the tactical is those things only matter within a game approach or within gameplay and that tactical side. And so that's kind of the start of Feel for the Game at its root is the art of coaching, right? Like we can all learn, we all have these things in mind, we might all know X's and O's, but the way that we apply it to the kids or the way that we can apply it to gameplay is literally the game. And so that's kind of why it is Feel for the Game, and that's kind of how it started. In terms of a platform to allow coaches resources to learn and to continue to grow, to continue to improve at our craft. But also it's kind of evolved even within the last few weeks of just being a platform for coaches to connect and for coaches to share. And for a lot of us, we put so much time into this, and this is our passion. So to be able to provide a platform to share our work and to highlight some different things from, like you said, in all varying components of the game, to be able to kind of publish it in a way where other like-minded coaches can access it.
Well, this started on April 10th, Jeremy, and you guys have obviously put a lot of content out there. Was this something that happened through the lockdown, of the coronavirus lockdown, or was this something you already kind of had things in place that were ready to go?
It's been something that we've kind of tossed around for a couple of years now, particularly myself and Heath Howington, who's the head basketball coach at North Posey.
Right.
And we're close also with Nate Kangany, who's at Whiteland now. And so we actually did a think tank with some coaches in Indy last summer, I guess, and some of those guys are the same type of basketball junkies that have already contributed to this as well. And I think it stemmed from we wanted to be able to broaden our scope of impacting people. And so in theory, we kind of tossed it around, but then it became, we're locked down, we can't really do anything. I mean, literally, if we're not going to get it off the ground now, like we never would, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's never this is for that sort of thing, this is not a bad time for that, because you've got some time to do it, and a willing audience, I think, out there ready to consume content. So,
and just the willingness for so many of the coaches to engage and to share their time and solicit their knowledge of all levels. Even to professional or semi-professional coaches, all the way to high school coaches.
What you said the feedback's been pretty good so far. What has that, has the level of engagement been, kind of what you hoped it would be, and how many, I guess, how many different coaches do you kind of have involved with this so far that have shared in one way or another?
Yeah, so it's the engagement and just the way that it's been received has been off the charts. I mean, it's surpassed any expectation that we would have had 3 weeks into it. And I think you're right. I think it's part delivering quality content, and it's part just the timing of everything. And everybody's kind of looking for engagement and looking for connection. And I think this has been a really good positive for high school coaches, especially Indiana high school basketball coaches, to be able to engage in this way. To put a number on coaches who have contributed, that's hard to say. Being in the northern part of the state, I kind of run the numbers and look at different things from Fort Wayne up to like Valpo. We've got Coach Coleman tomorrow, and then obviously I've got some connections through AAU and different things around Indy and that type of thing. Is we've actually got probably, I would say, about 25 coaches that would be like in the North semi-state of varying levels, and I know another probably 10 or 15 in around Indy area, and then another probably 15 to 20 on the south side too of what would be the south semi-state. So of anywhere from 1A to 4A. So we just we want to continue to push for more contributions from other coaches. Like, this is a site for coaches, from coaches, and so this isn't really a way for us to show everybody what we know. It's a way to learn and a way to grow and a way to give.
Yeah, it's a really cool forum. Again, feelforthegame.com, and you can find, just bouncing around here, I see, Travis Steele, a Twitter talk with him, the Xavier coach, who is, of course, from Danville, Indiana, and then Jordan Holes did a Q&A with you. So a lot of different names and different levels of basketball beyond the high school level as well. So a lot of neat stuff on there at feelforthegame.com. Jeremy, I know, looking back, I know it's been a few weeks ago now, but the end of the high school season, you guys at Fort Wayne Snider had a great year, 19 wins. I got a chance to see you at the Marion Classic.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like it was about 100 years ago, but at the beginning of January, beat a good Zionsville team up there. You guys ended up winning your sectional, and we're about to move on and play in the regional. And of course, nobody did that. But
Right.
just kind of go back to that week. I mean, what was that like for you personally, and for your team? Kind of that process of being excited about a sectional championship to to not being able to play in the regional round.
It was really interesting because when we went to the regional meeting on Monday, it never even crossed our mind that it wouldn't be something that would actually come to fruition. And then other levels are starting to cancel their games, and it's like, oh boy, it may not be looking good. And even then, when the IHSA came out with limited audience and this and that, we really felt like they were going to do everything that they could. So it was devastating. It was really disappointing. It's not very often you feel like you might actually be the best team in the regional, and I'm sure 3 other teams thought that too. But we were so senior laden and such good leaders and such good kids that, and the neatest thing I think is they wanted to continue to play. A lot of times in March, teams emotionally, physically, mentally, they can be exhausted and just done. And our guys weren't like that. They wanted to continue to practice. They wanted to continue to play. And that probably more than anything is what was disappointing.
Did you have much of a chance to kind of digest it and talk about it with your team, or was it pretty much a deal where you kind of just had to let them know and disperse, or were you even with them, I guess, to talk about this whole thing?
Yeah, so it came out around lunchtime that Friday before regional Saturday, and it was postponed initially, but we just took the approach that this might be the last time we have everybody together. So we brought in our our photographer to take our championship picture from the sectional. And, we kind of finished with, we had a little bit of closure with the huddle at the end, and, nothing that you would like to end in that way, but in case that we don't have everybody in the same room again, and then just thank them for their efforts and brought a little bit of closure to it.
How do your prospects look for next year?
Well, we're really excited. This is going to be my 5th year at Snider, and obviously you have to fight for your culture every day. But I think we've established some success by having good kids and that are hard workers. So we're not in a position where we're quite ready to reload. Some of those guys were really good, but we're returning a junior all-star and Michael Ely for his senior season. He's the one returning starter that we'll have. And we had a couple of rotational pieces that were sophomores that they'll be juniors. I think they're really, really talented and got a chance to be nice players. And then after that, we've got one more kid that got some minutes, especially late in the year. But then it's kind of open season, and that's what we talked to him today about. Met with him on Zoom, and the first thing we said was find ways to lift up other people, and that it can be a stressful time, and even within our Snider basketball community, a devastating time for some. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can do, and is the spirit of Feel for the Game, is find ways to impact other people. And then when it's focused now on basketball, they've got to develop their skill set foundation. If we come back in November and we have guys that don't have a left hand, there's just no reason for that. They or don't have footwork. There's just no reason for that. So, continue to improve their skills, and we have a lot of guys that are fighting for spots.
Well, that's talking to somebody else about that. That'll be you can tell who's going to have been working on their game and who hasn't been after this. This is over with. I had a chance to see Michael Ely play a little bit, and I think he's one of the more I don't want to say overlooked or whatever, but that class is just so deep that maybe you forget about him. But he's a really nice player, and what's kind of his recruiting interest at this point as I know we can't, there's no AAU right now and a chance for these guys to play in front of coaches, unfortunately, but where are things stand with him right now?
So he's got a handful of Division I offers, IUPUI, Ball State. He's got Miami, Ohio, and Evansville. So, and he's had such a good season this year. He averaged about 22 points a game, and we were super excited for him to have a breakout AAU season for that exposure, because you're right, he is kind of not necessarily under the radar. That would be a disservice, because he is an Indiana Junior All-Star and deservedly so. But at the same time, he's not on the UIBL, or he's not on this prolific AAU team that is just going to get the most exposure by virtue of being on that team. So, he does have to kind of work for that. And we felt like this was the time for that this spring and this summer. So, hopefully he's going to have a good fall, and hopefully coaches are able to come out and see some things. But, he's one that's just scratching the surface of his potential. He continues to grow physically, and especially with his height, and also mentally, emotionally. He's a kid he started out as a shooter, just kind of a specialist as a freshman, and he continues to get better every year, and he's adding to his game to a point where, he's impossible to keep in front of. He's got a good middle game. He can score at all three levels. So I think he's got a chance to really have a breakout senior season as well.
Jeremy, you mentioned you're also involved on the AAU scene some, along with high school basketball. What are your, I know nobody knows anything for sure at this point, but what are your hopes for the rest of the summer? Do you think we'll be able to see some basketball? I know the Indiana State superintendent, she said last week, kind of clarified that all schools are closed through June 30th. So, it'd at least be beyond that point. But are you still hopeful that maybe you're able to do some things later on this summer?
Yeah, we're hopeful for something in July. I think it'll probably not be scholastic. I think that we can hope maybe for a couple UIBL sessions, or I guess a couple open sessions for recruiting and evaluation. But it's still kind of up in the air, and it might even leak into August. It's hard to tell, which is going to get into fall sports and going back to school. So, to answer your question, we're definitely hopeful of some opportunity, at least just to get in the gym and see our guys, both from an AAU perspective and also from a high school basketball perspective.
Absolutely. Well, again, Jeremy Rauch from Fort Wayne Snider, and it's feelforthegame.com is the website. A lot of good stuff there. A lot of coaches involved with that, and I think it's instructive for a lot of, even if you're just a fan of basketball, to go on there and read what some of the coaches have put on there and some of the discussion points on there, or if you're a, whatever level of coaching that you're into, there's a lot of great information there to find there on feelforthegame.com. And really appreciate you coming on, Jeremy, and talking about this.
Yeah, thank you very much for highlighting. It's been a lot of work with some guys to get us started, but now it's kind of running itself, and we have so many coaches that want to contribute. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Well, that'll do it for this week's edition of our Preps podcast. Thanks for being with us. A lot of cool stuff coming this week on IndyStar.com, including the continuation of our Build-A-Team, the 64-team bracket. Voting open until Wednesday at noon for the second round of that fictitious tournament. But it's been a lot of fun to hear from people about what we've done with that, and we'll be on to the Sweet 16 here after Wednesday. So that's been a kind of a fun project as we go through this coronavirus pandemic and everything being shut down. And hope everybody stays safe out there, and join us next time here on Preps Podcast. Thank you.